Got a new walk and a new point of view, a new purpose for everything I do.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. What going on? What are you saying? So this is IamSarine, and I'm here to do another video, but this time it's going to be a bit different. So I'll be talking about the pros and the cons of moving to a new country. I know everyone is like either getting ready to go into uni or something of the sort. So if you're traveling from abroad, as in, okay, I live in the UK now, but if you're traveling from the Caribbean, or you're traveling from Africa, or you're traveling from anywhere outside of Europe, or even if you're traveling from within Europe and you're coming into the UK or going into a new country for university, there are certain things that you might want to know, you might want to prepare yourself for. Obviously, I'm going to be talking off of my perspective and my experience when I came up to go to uni, but who knows, there might be something there that would help you. And I wish there was a video up there talking to me about things I should expect, stuff like that before I came. So because I know like I would have benefited from something like that, I am going to do a video for you guys. So I'm gonna do the cons first, and then there will be another video that will follow up on the pros of moving to a new country, or should I say to the United Kingdom. So guys, let's start. For the cons, we're going to be talking about 5 specific things that you might want to take into consideration and all that stuff. So 1, culture shock. Number 2, finances. Number 3, language barriers. Number 4, the weather. And number 5, making new friends. So let's talk about number 1. So culture shock. Coming from the Caribbean and then coming into the United Kingdom was hard. Like, it was the definition of hard. And sometimes it depends on what city you're gonna be in. It depends on if you're going to a very multicultural city. Like, for instance, if you were to go to Birmingham, or you were to go to Manchester or London or Liverpool or Leeds, like those cities that are very much more diverse, you might not have this problem. But as for me, I went to a city called Stoke-on-Trent, and it is not the most diverse of the cities in the United Kingdom. You could probably say it's one of the least diverse cities in the United Kingdom, even though they might differ statistically speaking. However, coming to Stoke-on-Trent, I think I could remember the day that my mom and my brother, because my mom came up with me, but I remember the day when my mom and my brother dropped me off to uni and I saw the school. And you know, like when you're picking your school, the school that I went to was Keele University. It was my first choice and I was so happy to get into it. So you arrive on campus and the pictures on the brochure, I was just like, this is not the place that I signed up for. I didn't leave sand, sea, and sky. Is that what we say? Sand, sea, and sky. Yes, the blue skies, blue seas, and white sand. I didn't leave that for bushes. Like, and that's how I felt. I felt like I was locked away in the boondocks. The trees were huge. Little squirrels are running around, and I'm just like, I as a Caribbean girl was just like, I don't know if I could deal with something like this. Like, and I remember waving goodbye to my mom and my brother. They like packed everything into my room, and that's another thing. The room was super tiny. Like, I don't know, like they literally threw me in a matchbox and said good riddance, you know what I mean? And this is no shade on the school or anything, but I was just like, it's so small. Like, and then I was in a building with like 15 other girls, I think. I was in a block. And I was just by myself. And the fact that I was a home student, but I was international sort of, because I was coming from abroad. I came there even before like the home students were there. So like me alone, I was the only one in the block at the time. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? I literally thought that I made like the biggest mistake of my life. I couldn't hack the whole, you know, the vibe. I couldn't deal with it. And I didn't like the music. I've gotten there, like I could do the whole pop, like I have an entire white girl like playlist now. Like I be jamming like nobody's business. But I mean, like I didn't like the music. The accent was horrible because you know, like you every time other time I came to the UK, like I was in London. I know what a Londoner accent sounds like. You watch TV or you watch movies, and you know what a Londoner's accent sound like. Oh, like you envision like a certain sound in your head, and then someone from Stoke opens their mouth, and you're just like, oh, why do you people speak like that? Like that's your first impression or interaction or whatever. But you're just like, oh my gosh, they sound so different. Like the food. Oh my god, the food was tasteless. And the way I combat that was I went shopping as soon as I could. I came up with my own seasonings and stuff like that, obviously, because I wouldn't know the area, so I needed to ensure that I would be okay for a while until I knew the area. So I came up with my own seasonings and things like that. But my god, like the food was terrible. Like it was missing salt and pepper and creativity and all that good stuff. And then if that wasn't bad enough, so the music was bad. They can't dance. And the food was bad. And then at that point in time, and the way they sounded when they spoke, it was like, oh my gosh, like what did I get myself in? The environment. No, Kiel is a very beautiful campus. It has a very beautiful campus. But at the time, coming from the Caribbean and in all its glory, and then being dropped in the middle of Kiel with the trees and the squirrels, and there was a farm nearby, so I could always smell manure. I was not happy. I wouldn't say that I wasn't happy, because in my head I was just like, what did I get myself in? I think I made like such a poor decision of coming there, even though I know that was my first choice, because that's where I wanted to go. So that's one thing you have to consider. If you're not very good at adapting to certain things, you might want to consider that you might go through culture shock and what culture shock could do to you. Because I went through culture shock, and I'm not gonna lie, for my first year of uni I was basically depressed. I would just go to class and go straight back to my room. I didn't make any friends. And I tried, I honestly did try, but I was either tired of repeating myself or tired of trying to teach a geography and history lesson every single time I spoke to someone about the fact that I'm from the Caribbean and where it is and why it's British. So I just stayed in my shell. I stayed by myself. So that's one. Number two, you have to think about your finances. Some people are lucky enough to have parents like sending them money. Some people are lucky enough to have their tuition covered and paid for and everything. And then some people literally have to count their pennies. Now, I was fortunate enough to have came up on a scholarship, so my tuition was paid for. I was fortunate enough to also have a friend of the family give me a certain amount of money every year while coming up. So to say, and I worked a year before, so to say that my first and let's say second year was tough, I would be lying. But that did not mean that I spent like a crazy woman, because I know what it is to struggle. So I didn't just spend money recklessly. And coming from a country where we spend US dollars and the exchange rate was ridiculous at the time, I think it was like 170. It fluctuated between 1.75 to 1.80 dollar. Yeah, $1.80. Yeah, if you get what I'm saying, 1.80 to £1. And that meant that if you wanted £100, you would almost always end up taking out about 170 US dollars, give or take, out of your account. So it was almost double. So being the fact that I spent US dollars, and I would go to stores and I would want to buy things. Obviously, I'm a girl, and that's another thing. I'm a girl. Like, I think it's easier for boys. Boys don't really care for much, but I'm a girl. I'm gonna need things. Like, I'm gonna want things. And I would go to a store, and there would be a price in pounds. It sounds reasonable, but in my head, because I think in US dollars, I convert everything. And to this very day, 4 years later, I convert everything in my head before I make a purchase, just because I don't want to. I mean, like, obviously I have to live, but I don't want to just spend unnecessary money especially when I know I have to remember that there's a tomorrow and there's a next week. So that's another thing you have to think about. You have to think about your finances. You don't want to run yourself broke being happy and all joyful that you're in a new country and there's no one to stop you. Actually have to think about how you're going to spend your money, because remember, if you come up here on your own and you have no family, you have to remember that if something was to happen, you kind of have to bail yourself out at the time. And I mean, like, yeah, you can call on your parents, but there's like time zones. There's so many variables that could prevent you from speaking to your parents on the spot or stuff like that. So, or having your parents being able to like send you money immediately, because you might be waiting on a wire transfer. Like, there's so many things that can happen. So you have to remember your finances, and you have to remember that you can't just spend willy-nilly, because you never know what could happen, and you need to always have money there for in cases of emergencies and stuff like that. So the language barrier, that was one of my biggest problem aside from culture shock, because we speak English in the Caribbean. Yes, I know people are going to be like, oh, it's not English, but we speak English. But we also speak a dialect. And the dialect is not some foreign thingy. It's just broken English. And I know there are some Caribbean countries the dialect is worse than others. I wouldn't say worse, but you know, it's more chopped up and screwed than others. But it is a dialect, and it is basically broken English. Now, when I came up here, I wouldn't say that I spoke badly. Yes, I did speak my dialect, but I wouldn't speak my dialect naturally. To this day, I wouldn't speak my dialect to people that I know won't understand. And it's not because like I'm not proud of being a Virgin Islander, but it's because I don't like to repeat myself. And because I don't like to repeat myself, I might as well spare myself the stress of speaking in dialect and having someone ask me to repeat. But what I've noticed is that most times they're asking you to repeat not because they don't understand what you're saying, but they realize that you sound different, so they begin to listen to how you sound rather than what you say. But yes, language was a problem. Obviously, my accent was stronger when I came up 4 years ago than it is now, and people continuously asked me, "What did you say? What were you saying? What And it was, I wanted to be patient. Believe you me, I wanted to be patient, but there were times I was just like, okay, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with people not listening to me, and it was not. And I would like to think that I enunciate properly, and I would like to think that I form my sentences very well. I would like to think that when it comes to speaking to someone that I know won't understand my dialect, I take my time and I speak. I would like to think. I mean, like, I could be wrong, but I would like to think I'm very considerate when it comes to stuff like that. But it was one of the most annoying things to always be telling people, oh, this, that, and the other, and telling them, like, yeah, we speak English. Like, the amount of times you have to defend yourself for speaking the English language, it's sometimes also ridiculous. I've had people ask me questions like, what is your first language? And I'm just like, what do you think my first language is? I remember a girl asked me what my first language was, and then I was like, what do you think it is? She said, I don't know. I said, when I speak to you, do you understand what I'm saying to you? She said, yeah. I said, okay, well, what do you think I'm speaking? But no, you're dumb, you're stupid. And I'm sorry to say you're dumb and you're stupid, but I mean, like, even if it wasn't my first language, like, if I'm speaking to you and you're understanding me, and all you speak is English, because most English speakers, all they really speak is English, what would you think I would be speaking to you in if you could understand every single thing that I've said to you? And then there's a misconception of being a Caribbean person, especially people that have traveled. I've had people ask me how I can speak English or why I can teach English, because I used to teach before. Well, rather recently. I teached after coming out of uni. But people will be like, how can you teach English when your first language is Spanish? And I'm just like, So you went to one Spanish country in the Caribbean and you think that everyone in the Caribbean speaks Spanish? Well, that's rather daft now, isn't it? Right? But yes, like, you get questions like that constantly, and it's really annoying at times, and you have to have a thick skin. You have to be able to hold your tongue at times, because you know how Caribbean people are. We would like to like mouth off to everyone sometimes, but honestly, it's people being naive, and When people don't know, you can't really be upset with them. If someone knows and they say something stupid, then you're like, okay. But if they don't know, the most you could do is help to educate while keeping your temper down, because it's really aggravating. Then there's 4, and that is the weather. So coming from the Caribbean or like any tropical area, so like Africa, like the continent of Africa, like the Caribbean, probably South America, where the places or the country is usually warm. Excuse me. And then coming to the UK, it could be a shock, but for me, I didn't really have a problem with it. To this day, I haven't bought winter clothes because what's the point? I would wear exactly what I would wear back home. I just buy a jacket to keep warm. I prefer the cold over the warm. I don't like to sweat. So I didn't really have a problem, or I don't have a problem with the weather. My only problem with the weather would probably be the rain that comes out of nowhere. So you always have to be aware of the weather, and you have to be aware of if there's going to be possible rains and stuff like that, possible showers, should I say. And always have an umbrella with you, because the rain literally just falls from nowhere and everywhere without you even knowing. I think so. Today's Sunday, so I think on Friday it was fine, and then it started to rain, and before you know it, it was raining and hailing at the same time, and there was no warning. I mean, the skies were like grayish, but it literally came from nowhere. It just started to hail, it was raining, and then it stopped and it was sunny, and then it started again. And you're just like, okay, what's up with this bipolar weather? And that's the actual truth. It's bipolar. Like, the weather can change upon you in a second, and you have to be prepared, because it's not like in the Caribbean when it rains you can take your time to go to work, or like, you know, like you can like just relax and chillax and kick your feet up. No, up here, rain, sleet, snow, raining, meteoroids, like the sky could be falling. You have to go to work because you need to keep your job, or you have to go to school because you have to attend classes. So yeah, you have to be aware of the weather continuously. And lastly, making friends could be tough. If you're a very extroverted person, it might be very easy for you to make friends. If you don't have a problem with crowds, or like just going up to speaking to someone, it might be really easy for you to make friends. Whereas for me, it was kind of hard, because I am usually good with people one-on-one. I'm not good with speaking to an entire crowd. Like, if it's a group of 5 or 6 of us, like, I could dominate a group like that. I'm fine. But especially coming from a new country, knowing that you sound different, knowing that you look different, it could be kind of hard to like get into the groove of things with wanting to talk to new people, or trying to talk to new people, especially when every 2 sentences they ask you what you say, or they just look at you in awe because, oh my gosh, here comes this tropical princess, oh my gosh, she must be so cool. And then you get the random questions like, so do you smoke weed? Or are you always on the beach? And I'm just like, well, no, bitch. I don't even mean to swear, but I'm just like, no, because most people have something to do. Like, people have to go to work. Like, no one is just chillaxing. Like, we're not favored like that. In order to get money, you need to work. In order to survive, you need to work. So people are not just chillaxing and relaxing like their future is paved for them. Like, that's not the way things go. So those are like the 5 things that, like, the 5 most prominent things I could think about that might be a bit of a, you know, like a con, like the cons for coming to a new country, especially when you're coming to like university and stuff like that. When you basically have no choice, you have to come. And if you could deal with it, then it's good for you, because I know it came to the point I was so depressed. I would just be locked in my room. I was so depressed. And I remember when the school year was over, I was telling myself, like, I didn't even mention this to my mom or anyone. I was telling myself that I was not coming back because I was so over being in the UK. And now 4 years later, I'm still here, and it's like I didn't want to go home. But yeah, guys, these are the cons for moving to a new country, moving to the UK, and things you need to know. Following this video, there will be the pros for moving to the UK and moving to a new country. And I hope you guys like this video. If you want to see more content from me, like, definitely support my channel because more content will be coming. But yeah guys, so I'm literally gonna just stop the camera and start filming the pros part of this video. So bye guys.